Collectively, the folks on this stage served 178 years in prison for crimes they didn't commit, including the years that Tommy served Virginia. And I wonder if any of you have any thoughts or reactions to that number of years lost.
Listen, them people, in so many words, fucked up our lives. Because we're never gonna catch fully up. I don't care how far you get, you're never gonna catch fully up of what you lost in 30, 31, 30, all the way to how many years you spent in here. So you just gotta take it one step at a time, and that's what I do.
It's just a wasteful amount of years, too many years.
The number is what, 178? Which is a small figure in comparison to all of the wrongly convicted. Well, I mean, it's just 4 of us here, but there are so many more that has been wrongly convicted. And when you add up those numbers and add them to this, we're talking off the scale numbers. And then the question becomes, what is to be done about it? You know, is anything ever going to be done about it?
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. My name is Radha Natarajan, and I am the Executive Director of the New England Innocence Project. It is my privilege to welcome you to our 4th annual Voices of the Innocent event, Journey to Freedom. When we think of freedom after a wrongful conviction, we often think of that iconic moment when a person walks out of prison or out of the courthouse, arms raised in joy. Those first moments of freedom are profound, they're deeply moving, and each day we are driven to make those moments a reality for as many people as we can. But the journey to freedom begins long before that moment and continues long after. It spans decades and impacts many people along the way. Tonight is about hearing from those who are on that journey, for themselves or alongside their loved ones. As you listen to them, please use the chat box to leave notes of encouragement and appreciation for their voices. First, you will hear from people reflecting on the devastation of being wrongfully convicted and losing both their freedom and their faith in the criminal legal system. This is when we at the New England Innocence Project hear from people seeking help. For us, every journey to freedom begins with a letter. You will get to see some of those letters. They contain stories of loss and hope and a yearning to be believed. That hope fuels their fight for freedom, a fight we join with commitment and solidarity. Tonight you will hear more about one of those fights, the fight to free Jason Carroll, a man who has already spent 33 years in prison for a New Hampshire murder he did not commit. And we will be asking you to join us in the fight for Jason and so many others. Tonight, you will also get to hear much more about what it is like to come home after a wrongful conviction, what it means for people to finally be released, and the challenges of navigating a new world. Now, some of the people in this community with whom we shared this journey left us suddenly this year. They include Sean Drumgold, Sean Tanner, Ray Champagne, and Lawyer Johnson. They made a significant impact on all of us. Together, they spent 103 years in prison. Tonight's event is dedicated to them, their loved ones, and to their legacies. You will get to hear a few words from them too, in moments when they spoke about their own journeys. We commit to carrying forth their dreams for this community, dreams about freedom, accountability, and justice. I want to thank you for joining us tonight, and I hope you will continue to be a part of this journey well beyond tonight.
I actually believed in the system. I said, they're going to know it's not me based on the evidence was presented towards them. And I said, once we go through all this, I'll be able to prove my innocence. And when they told me natural life without the possibility of parole, I was like just pissed off, man. I didn't know what to do, what to say. My lawyers are telling me don't say nothing, don't react because it's going to come back on the appellate review. Just go through the motions. And I was really like, I didn't know. I didn't want to go. You know, I'm like, yo, you got the wrong person. You know you got the wrong person. I had no way to help myself. I was totally helpless.
When they first brought down the verdict, I was thinking why God is doing this to me, why this is happening to me. I was telling the truth right from the start, and I wasn't being believed. So it really had an impact on me.
There's not enough words to explain how you're snatched away, basically kidnapped and taken away, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Because by the law, it's justified what they just did. But in retrospect, it's really not justified.
Thomas Rosa is my husband, and he actually thought it was just a bad dream. Let me wake up from this bad dream. And it wasn't a dream. He felt lonely. He felt betrayed by the system.
When the verdict came in, it was a real kick in the chest. I felt like this can't last. You know, this is crazy. This moment will pass, and we'll get this squared away soon. It took 38 years to do it.
For me, it was quite devastating. From the beginning, it was all wrong. It was all wrong, and it seemed like I was the only one who knew it.
I never met nobody that was wrongfully convicted. I didn't think it was real. But when reality came around and they sent me upstate, I said to myself, you know what? The police committed the perfect crime on me. And that's the way I took it. Because I couldn't find nothing to prove I didn't do it. But I didn't do it. And that's the way I felt about it. Devastated.
You think this, as long as you keep your nose clean, you don't get locked up. But, and then of course, I ran into the reality that that's not always the case. To the point that I even told my moms one time, I said, you know, we don't have to be caught wrong. All we have to be is caught, and then they make us wrong. So that was an awakening.
It changed his whole mindset about the legal system completely. He says, I just can't trust it. Can't trust it.
It was quite confusing for me, because all the people in that courtroom were people who went to school, got degrees in this and degrees in that, smart people. I'm thinking, they're so smart, how can they be getting it so wrong? Everybody, I felt like I was by myself. There was nobody on my side in that courtroom.
When the verdict came in, it was like, you know, how do I tell my mother that they just gave me forever? And so I'm pasting. And finally I get up the courage and I go to the phone and I call her and I say to her, I said, you know, I said, these people gave me forever today. And God bless her, man, she didn't blink. She said to me, she said, boy, are you still alive? And I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, well, then the fight ain't over. And they gave me what I needed to go forward. And I've been fighting ever since.
When my father was incarcerated, I was about 3 to 4 years old. I cannot talk about life with my father before he was incarcerated because I don't have any memories of him before he was incarcerated. My first memory of my father being incarcerated and spending time with him was through a plexiglass, talking to him over the phone and putting our hands up on the glass before we left the visiting room. I was 9 years old, and I decided then that I wasn't going to rest until my father was a free man.
it's very hard to endure mentally something that you know you didn't do, and then all of a sudden your life's on the line because of it. You know that you need internal and external help. So you need support from people in the prison and people in the outside world to give you the strength to get by every day.
Dear Neep, I am incarcerated in Massachusetts, and I was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for a crime I did not do. Would you please help me in any way possible?
It has been over 22 years now, and I have been in search for people and their help.
I'm lost, hurt, confused, and incarcerated for things I didn't do.
I want you to know right offhand that every word you now read is the truth.
I truly am innocent of this crime, and I beg you to just give me the chance to prove it.
Please help me get home to my dad. That's all I got left.
Dear Mrs. Carey, I wrote because I want to thank you for the hope you and Dan have given me. I need it like air and water.
Today is the anniversary of my incarceration. I start my 21st year. That is 7,305 days locked up for a crime I didn't commit. 175,320 hours not being involved raising my son.
I'm innocent and I'm still trying to fight my case. I've been in prison for almost 53 years.
No one deserves to die in prison for someone else's actions, and no one deserves to die in prison because of harsh laws.
I lost my mother being locked up for 9 years. I need my life back. Please help me.
We get around 250 new applications every year, and I go into every case that I work on assuming that the person is telling me the truth, that they're innocent. But it's more, is there an avenue available to us to pursue?
What we try to do is understand which cases we can move forward and actually take steps toward proving innocence, either through factual investigation, through advances in forensic sciences. The legal burden isn't really to establish innocence in Massachusetts, but the reality is our burden is extraordinarily high in trying to convince courts to re-examine a conviction from so many decades ago. We're finding ourselves in this situation, which our clients are always facing, that they're not in a position to solve a crime that they didn't commit from decades ago, and yet it's almost like they're being asked to, and we're being asked to do that.
It is so frustrating that a case can go through the trial and all of the stuff that happens after trial and during appeal, and then all the motions for a new trial, and the person who's accused still doesn't even have all the police reports. I think that's happening in a whole bunch of our cases, including a few of Laura's that I can think of.
Yeah, I've been working for almost 2 years on that one case just to put together the original file. And our client's been working way longer than that, 20 years, to try and put his file back together. The trial attorney doesn't have the file anymore. The appellate attorney has passed away. The district attorney's office isn't turning over the information yet. The court doesn't have the information. It's incredibly frustrating.
I know that you had a kickoff meeting with a new pro bono team last week. How did that go?
It went really well. Actually, Stephanie and I had it together. I think this is a case where we actually have multiple lines of investigation we want to pursue, a third-party culprit that seems really probable, and some other witnesses who may have been coerced by law enforcement. But we also have this DNA testing issue. I'm excited to dig into both of those issues.
It can be so difficult to try to regularly communicate with our clients. It's really frustrating. Even when we go out there to see them, it can take, there's so many delays to even get inside, and so many barriers, and Zoom calls and phone calls aren't the same. I know you've had that problem too.
Knowing that your client has so much information that they can't communicate to you when you need it communicated to you is so difficult, and that is really the burden of incarceration in the investigative phase. It's so hard to figure that stuff out when they know it, they hold it, and they're the only ones, and you can't access it because you physically can't access them.
It's unbearable to have to keep telling someone that they have to wait another day in prison. It's really hard to stomach.
This is a call from an inmate at the New Hampshire Department of Corrections.
Hey, Jay.
Hi, Cynthia. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay.
You know, you're about to go back in court. You're about to fight your case in court again. How are you feeling about that?
I mean, I can't wait, but at the same time, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm scared to death. You know, I just hope that, you know, the judge has an open mind and, you know, and kind of pays attention to things. You know, all we can do is wait and see.
The night we had to say goodbye to him, it replays in my head every day. Captain Morency was in there with Roland Lammy and Neil Scott, and he didn't even take the handcuffs off of Jason. The four of us huddled together, and he's trying to wrap, which he was a slender kid back then. I mean, nothing to him. He tried to wrap his shoulders the best he could around us, and he said, just behave for Mom and Dad. In literally 5 minutes, Roland Lammy took him by the upper arm, led him to another door to lead him out. I don't know where that door took him, and that was it. He was gone. Everybody in the community knew more than what his own siblings did. And it obviously hurts me and pains me to this day. I've spent roughly 25 years doing my own research on it, documenting word-for-word conversations the best I could, and I finally hit that brick wall to where I personally couldn't go any further with it. I needed the legal help.
When I first arrived at NAEP, there was a stack of cases on my desk that were all New Hampshire-based cases, and Jason's was the top case. I'm very used to looking through criminal cases, discovery transcripts, that's very normal. And I remember looking through Jason's case saying, no way, he's not gonna get convicted. I mean, I already knew that he was convicted because it was sitting on my desk, but looking through the case, I was like, there's no way a jury would convict on this evidence alone. And when I got to the end, I was like, shocked about it. It became quickly apparent that Jackie is essentially an expert on this case. Jackie sat me down, took me through all the work that she's done in this case, talked to me about all the different things that she's tried, the people that she had spoken to, the things that she's done to try and help Jason figure things out, dig deeper. So many of our applicants have nobody to fight and nobody to bring attention to their case and nobody to work on their case. And Jason had Jackie. Jackie is the heart and soul of the fight for Jason outside the walls.
When my oldest daughter Bailey and I handed everything I had over to the New England Innocence Project, it shook me really hard because that was mine, you know, but very grateful that now we have a team coming. It literally gives Jason more hope. Even though being on that side of the fence, they try not to show it, try not to say it. It's given a lot of hope. It really has.
I've known Jason for about 15 years now. He is a kind, compassionate, selfless person. He is someone that you want in your corner. He is always trying to inspire you. He's always trying to get you to think.
He was very mum about a lot of stuff. You know, he kept a lot of things, you know, to himself, which is pretty, again, very natural for a lot of guys on the inside. They don't want to be vulnerable. It's heavy. It's a lot of weight. You know what I mean? I don't care who you are, how bad you are, how tough you are. It's something on the inside, you know what I mean, that takes a toll, that eats up at you. And I know he definitely was feeling it.
It was a daily struggle for him. People like Jason who are doing that amount of time, they have to find something every morning to be able to get their feet out of bed, to wake up and just go throughout the day in the living hellhole that you're waking up to. And Jay would find strength from thinking about beating his case and coming home to his family, yet it was the most draining thing to see it happen to him. And the only way I guess I could really articulate what it's like to fight a case would be the equivalent of like stepping into a ring with Floyd Mayweather with both your hands behind your back and you're blindfolded. And your hands are tied behind your back because you're dealing with every single stigma that society has of you about the fact that you're incarcerated. The prosecutors, they think that you're automatically guilty because you are inside. Your hands are just tied because you don't have access to the same resources that the institutions have to push against you. Your hands are tied because you don't have access to your support systems the way that you need to. You're blindfolded because you have no idea about the actual process that you're undergoing. You have to just trust that your lawyer or someone else is going to lead you to the victory that you're trying to get. That's what it's like to fight your case inside.
It's definitely a challenge because you're not afforded the same opportunities as those on the outside. You don't have the same resources. There's a law library, but that is a very used resource. So it's very limited as to how much time you can spend having access to the law library. And also, if you're not a legal beagle, as they say in prison, then it's even that much more of a challenge to understand the language.
Jason was convicted solely on the basis of a coerced confession. One of the troopers said that it was one of the most intense interrogations he'd ever participated in his 20 years of service. There was a description about Jason being on the ground with his arms wrapped around his mom's legs, crying. What's really important to understand, I think, about Jason's false confession is Jason's background. So Jason grew up with a mother who's a police officer and a father who was in the military. So adherence to orders, following authority, being respectful of authority, trusting authority, were a part of Jason's DNA. The crucial factor in Jason's interrogations was that his mother became involved in it. So not only is this someone that you trusted as a familial connection, but this was a police officer and a mother. It's sort of a double threat for Jason. And he was 19. I mean, he was still just a kid.
This is Jason's room. My son went off to college 2 years ago, and I had been slowly transitioning it for Jason since then. We've gotten little things, you know, underclothes and clothing for him. His crossword puzzles that he enjoys doing, I made sure he had those. And I don't know what he's going to mentally and emotionally go through when he comes out from that side of the wall into his new environment. But it's his own space, and he'll utilize it well. My hope for Jason's future outside and at home, we already have employment lined up for him. His driver's license, now we just have to get him physically out and getting him back into society. I would just like to say to everyone, you know, going through a wrongful conviction, don't lose hope as much as you lose hope. You lose faith, you lose your own way. You can't. Just because you get through the conviction and the sentencing, the fight is really just beginning, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. Just don't lose hope.
Every individual's freedom is so important to me, but knowing Jason and knowing Jackie and being involved with this family for these years, there would be no greater honor than to be a part of Jason's freedom.
Jason Carroll has been in prison for 33 years. During that time, he has missed milestones like weddings and graduations and everyday experiences with his family and community. It is time for Jason Carroll to come home. And so I am thrilled to tell you that in just a few short weeks, staff attorney Cynthia Mousseau will be with Jason in a New Hampshire courtroom fighting for him to be freed. This first step will be for his physical freedom. Our next step will be for his freedom from this wrongful conviction, a full exoneration. We will seek DNA testing on all of the evidence that could help us identify the person who committed this crime. And we will present the court with the evidence supporting Jason's innocence, including all we have learned about coerced confessions. If we are successful, as we must be, Jason will be the first person ever exonerated in a murder case out of New Hampshire. We are so grateful that the law firm of Foley Hoag has partnered with the New England Innocence Project to investigate and litigate this case. Jason and Jackie will not be in this fight alone. And that's what we want for every person fighting for their freedom right now. There are so many people throughout New England. In fact, we have nearly 350 open applications from people who are in that fight. Once someone is convicted of a crime, the system holds onto that conviction with a tight grip and does not want to let go. That's why we must devote everything we can to these cases. That means a team of people, thousands of hours analyzing case facts, and tens of thousands of dollars for investigators, experts, and testing. Wrongfully convicted people and their families have already been failed too many times by our criminal legal system, and they deserve everything we can offer them. So tonight, we are asking you to be a part of this fight, a critical part. Funding makes it possible to interview witnesses, test evidence, and build support around every case and every family. The people who write to us are on a long journey, and we want that journey to include freedom. Without your support, freedom is just a dream. With you, it can be a reality. We know that the impact we can make together is all the incentive you need to make a gift tonight, but this year we are fortunate enough to be able to offer you something additional. We collaborated with John Vincent from A Revolutionary Press in New Haven, Vermont, to create beautiful prints inspired by the Exonerate Network. The prints were made with quotes from members of this community, by artists who carved on linoleum blocks, and on handmade paper from the Peace Papers Project. Tonight, if you donate $500 or more, or become a sustaining monthly donor with a gift of $50 or more per month, you will be entered to receive one of 3 prints created by A Revolutionary Press, which we will frame and ship to you. One of those prints is particularly significant because it contains a quote from Ray Champagne, who we lost this year and who we miss very much. He said, "Freedom is breath." As you consider a gift in an amount that is meaningful to you, please enjoy part of the song I Cry Freedom, written by Albert Brown and performed by him and Jabir Pope. You will also see images from a march and rally we held on Wrongful Conviction Day this year. We will then continue together on this journey, focusing on life in freedom.
This song was written by my Cody here in prison. It was considered our anthem. Hopefully it'll be considered that way out here as well.
Brother, brother, brothers, sisters, sisters, sisters. Ooh, yeah. Let's all take a stand and strive to break free from all the things that enslave us. Brothers, can't you see? Can't you see? The birds fly high up and free. Anguish feeling inside of me. But right now I'm feeling so bad about what's going down. Going down. So I cry freedom, freedom, freedom today. We cry freedom, freedom, freedom today. Mothers and fathers are crying. Our children are dying from violence, drugs, and alcohol. And that's not all. That's not all. It's all up to you and me. We gotta save our children, reclaim our communities, 'cause their tomorrows depend on you and me, you and me. So I cry freedom, freedom, freedom today. We cry freedom, freedom, freedom today. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Freedom, freedom, freedom. I want it for you, and I want it for me. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Freedom, freedom, freedom. I want it for you, and I want it for me. Free your heart, free your soul, free your mind.
What does freedom mean to me? Everything. It's walking out of my door when I want to, hugging Molly and not being told 5 seconds, break it up. Not seeing people in either handcuffs, or leg shackles, or a wall between us, a piece of glass, a fence. To be free now is, I think about it every day. You know, there's something that's just, how do you feel about the air you're breathing? You know, it's keeping you alive, not just exist, because that's all you do in prison, you exist. I find joy in so many things that I never thought about before, little tiny things. And it's just so liberating. I can't think of a better word for it. Freedom is breath.
The time that my father was free was like a dream. For the first time in my life, his chair at the table wasn't empty. We got to see family members for the first time that he hadn't been able to see in over 40 years. We went swimming for the first time. He got to ride a bike with his granddaughter for the first time. He got to play basketball with my son for the first time. Go for a walk. Get on the bus. A lot of things that most people don't think about, you know?
Through the journey of incarceration, you fantasize all the time about what freedom would look like. You know what I mean? Will this day ever come, and what will it look like when it does come? And what would be the impact and like that. And the day of, my attorney picked me up and he said to me, "What's the first thing that you want to do?" And I said, "Ride in the front seat with no chains on." You know what I mean? Because for almost 40 years, it was always chained up in the back of some vehicle. I just wanted to be in the front seat with no chains on. And he said, "You got it, on the front seat." And then I saw his phone and I said, "I want one of those." I don't know how to work it, but I want one of those.
When my husband came out, you don't see him like, "Ooh, hooray, I'm out." He's just shocked. And he was very happy, but I think scared that someone's gonna knock on that door and says, "Oh, they made a mistake, you have to go back."
Well, what was it like for you to
Oh, for me?
for your husband to finally come home to you?
God.
What was that like?
It was remarkable. It was scary because he's been in there for such a long time. It's not just his ordeal. It's still in awe for me to see him experience new things.
One thing I really appreciated was I hadn't had a bath in 38 years. So I wanted to take a bath. I wanted to get in the bathtub and stay there. When the water got cool, let it out, put some more hot water in, and lay there. Because I wanted a bath so bad. And some music playing. And I got to get my bath. I got the bath.
I wonder if you could each talk a little bit about some of the best parts about your freedom. What brings you joy right now in your life since you've been released?
For my husband, it is his grandchildren and his son. He goes out with his son, and his grandchildren are his life.
For me, it's my baby. I've been in prison her entire life. Her mother was only 4 months along with her when I went to prison. When I came home, you know, it was me and her, because she's my heart and joy, and so that's first and foremost.
What brings me joy is jumping out the plane for a couple of times and trying to experience real freedom and recognizing that and meditating on that. That brings me joy. Going for nature walks, going on movies, spending time with the guys here whenever we had a chance to spend time together, and also being involved with the NEP, the Innocent Projects, and doing speaking engagements and things like that. And it might sound funny, but one thing that brings me joy, I can take a shower anytime I want to take a shower. No shower schedules. So that brings me joy.
Somebody told me you were doing some bungee jumping. You're a brave soul, man.
Yeah.
Bungee jumping or flying off a plane?
I'm going to be doing bungee jumping soon, but I jumped out of a plane at least twice. Yeah, no, yeah, just 10,000 feet.
You could do all that yourself, Fred. I'm all set. But what brings me joy also further on that, you can have all that bungee. I'm not doing none of that. What brings me joy out all that right there, this group. There's more than just this group. It's a bigger group than this. Guys are going on with their lives. So we gotta put more effort into it, getting these guys together, you know, eating and talking and just working it out. And understanding that, you know, we're a crutch for each other. And we gotta be there for each other.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Siegel, and I am the chair of the Board of Trustees of the New England Innocence Project. it is my privilege to introduce the Arc of Justice Award. The Arc of Justice Award recognizes a New England Innocence Project partner who has demonstrated unparalleled commitment, tenacity, and courage to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice for people convicted of crimes they did not commit. The principle behind the Arc of Justice Award is that the arc only bends toward justice when people pull it there. It does not bend on its own. This year, as we examine the entire journey to freedom, including the very difficult process of healing after the trauma of long-term incarceration, it was clear that the 2022 Arc of Justice Award should go to Kristen Dame. Kristen is a social service advocate who is deeply devoted to people who face or have experienced incarceration. She is an invaluable thought partner to the Exoneree Network and supports wrongfully convicted people in a myriad of ways. That includes helping people with immediate needs like getting their IDs, health insurance, medications, and benefits, as well as providing ongoing emotional support to community members learning to navigate a new world. Kristen's impact on this community is immeasurable and, as you will soon see, felt by so many. Please watch as Sean Ellis, director of the Exoneree Network, presents Kristen Dame with the 2022 Arc of Justice Award in recognition of her outstanding work to support and empower those wrongfully convicted.
If you could just pick one word that pops into your head when you think of Kristen, what would it be?
A gem. A priceless gem.
A savior.
Beauty. She goes all out to make sure you achieve whatever goals we set for ourselves. She really impacted my life.
I can reach out to her and talk to her about anything without being judged, so that makes me feel good.
She's an extraordinary human being. I can't say enough about her.
Tell me what's on your agenda today and what are we going to go to first?
Yes, so the first thing I have to do is I have a meeting with the director of the Exoneree Network, Sean Ellis. So we're going to head over there first because I need to talk to him about a couple of the people that we're supporting and also doing some planning for some upcoming events and activities.
You spend a lot of time in this car.
I spend a lot of time in this car. I spend a lot of time with our individuals, our folks in this car. It's to help them get to an appointment. It's to help them apply for something. It's because they've lost something. It's to get them to their medical appointments. I think it's important for people to realize that when somebody gets released from court and everyone sees these pictures of people in the newspaper and they're free and it looks like so joyous, that's just the beginning of a very long journey. That's just step one. Now we have to do all of the things that we all take for granted. I don't consider this work. I know that it is part of my job, but there's a lot of time that I spend, my own time, meeting with different people, talking to them on the phone, asking how they're doing, letting them know that somebody does care about them, because for so long they didn't feel like they mattered. When an entire system for years treats you like you don't matter, you start to believe what you hear. And trying to undo that, we may never be able to get to that core for some people, but I'm not going to stop trying.
Thank you for coming in and talking to me about, some of the work that you're doing with the Exoneree Network. I appreciate your work, and if it wasn't for you, I'm not sure this would be possible.
That is absolutely not true. As we all know, this is because of all the work that you and Victor and Ray started, and to be here with you and to support the work that you're doing is such a privilege. So happy to do it.
Well, thank you, and I think it's kind of appropriate that on behalf of the New England Innocence Project, I wanted to present this award to you in recognition of your outstanding work to support and empower those wrongfully convicted. So I just wanted to present this to you and tell you thank you for your hard work. So.
Oh my gosh, thank you. This was a bit of a surprise.
But well deserved. you're an amazing human being. Thank you.
Coming from you, I'm gonna start crying. So coming from you and from Ray, when I think about everything you've done for this community and what's happened to you, for you to even recognize the little that I do just is incredibly overwhelming and beyond humbling. I don't know what to say.
Well, just know that Ray wanted you to have this award as well. It was important to him that you have this, and so I think everybody feels as though it's fitting, and there is not a person more deserving. Thank you for being the person you are.
Oh, thank you. Can I give you a hug?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness, Sean.
Well, right now, you can say I'm still adjusting out here. I mean, like, one thing I want to say, you know, that perhaps it'd be, you know, make people have more of a clear point of people leaving prison and coming out here, and that is that they think if someone that's been incarcerated unjustly for 10 years and so many months can come out here and get a job and everything be okay. It don't go like that.
I'm trying to take it one step at a time. And some days I'm doing good with that, other days I'm not. When I first got out, it was trying to get a roof over my head. I needed some place to go, so I had to reach out to some of the people in my circle at that time, lawyers, and helping me out. So trying to get that situated, trying to get my ID and make sure I get connected with Mass Health and learn how to write a check and how to pay rent, and a lot of those things was happening, and some of those things are still happening. So it was been a lot of challenges for me, just trying to live your life out here, establish a whole new life after spending almost 40 years in prison.
Walking out of there, I was lost. When I was out, they only had beepers. They got cell phones now and computers now, and no one carries money now, it's a card. And I said, okay, I gotta adapt to this. And that's the hard part. Any other part, we can adapt to. But adapting to certain stuff in society as far as computers and all, that part is hard. So I'm still kind of lost.
Because my husband was in there when he was 24 years old. He got out when he was 59. That's a long time. Took a long time for him to get used to the technology like everybody else here. And the first thing that he loves and adores, other than myself, is that phone. He loves his cell phone. And he loves restaurants. Try to get him to a different restaurant all the time. He likes experimenting with different foods. But it's been a tough 2 years. There's a lot of people that passed away. His aunts and uncles, brothers, sisters, mother, they all passed away when he was in jail. It's still sad to see the sadness that 34 years have created in him because of all he lost.
You fight for his freedom for so long, then you get here and everybody you love is gone. One day, about 3 weeks ago, I went to my neighborhood and I just stood there for about an hour. And I didn't see nobody that I knew, not one soul that I knew. And I'm looking and I'm saying, where's everybody? And somebody said to me, oh, they're dead. I said, I'm not believing that. Everybody's not dead. Where's everybody at? Then somebody said, oh, they moved down south, or they moved to Worcester, or they moved to Brockton. But, you know, I got free, and there's no, right now, the only true friend I got is him.
You know, and that's the one thing that that people in the world can't know of us is the loss. And so we talk about losses, we talk about sharing, we talk about the bonds that we build, you know, and we lean on each other through these hard times. But there's so many of us now that are starting to come home, and so we're not a stranger in this world. We have each other, you know, that we can that we can lean on, that we can relate to. You know, I don't have to just be wandering around the society by myself with nobody that knows me, and I don't know any of them. There are folks that I've shared this experience with that are out here now sharing this freedom with, and so that gives me joy as well.
There's not a day that goes by that somebody doesn't ask me, how you like it? How do I like freedom? That's a dumb question. I love it. I got no complaints. You know, even though there are things wrong, there are hiccups in my life. I wish what happened didn't happen. That put me through all this, but it did, and I got to go on. We all got to go on and do the best we can do, strive to be the best we can be, speak my truth. And he brought it to my attention one time. He said, man, we didn't speak our truth. We didn't get a chance to tell our story. And that's why we're here. Because if the world could have heard our story, they'd say, oh man, hell no. We ain't putting them kids in prison. But I didn't get a chance to speak my truth. But I'm gonna speak it every day, you know, that I live. I'm gonna speak my truth. And I don't care who don't like it and who don't want to hear it. I'm speaking my truth.
Shout it off the mountain, bro. Shout it off the mountain.
Community, to me, equates to freedom. Every single last individual in our community has to show up and dedicate in order for this to change. The community is everything. And the sooner that our communities understand that around the world, nationwide, the stronger we are together.
Tonight, we have all heard powerful reflections on the journey to freedom. I want to thank everyone who participated in tonight's event, especially the people whose lives have been directly and irreversibly impacted by a wrongful conviction. We know that the journey to freedom is difficult, and we are proud to stand with so many individuals and families on that journey. For all of the barriers and frustrations this community has faced, its members remain filled with devotion to each other and to justice. We know that you too care about justice, so we are asking you to stay connected with us. Join us on this journey and support this tremendous work. If you have not yet had the chance to donate tonight, we are now turning to you to support this work into next year and beyond. You have the opportunity to make freedom possible. And don't miss out on your chance to receive a special framed print from a revolutionary press with any gift of over $500 tonight. If you are a runner, please consider joining the Running for Innocence team and raising funds to support the investigation of wrongful conviction cases. There's even a race on November 6th, which is being run in honor of Ray Champagne. You can join the team now or show up and cheer on the runners on Sunday. This was a difficult year for the New England Innocence Project because of the number of losses we suffered. But it was also a joyous year where several people were freed, some of whom you've already seen and who you can hear from now. Please join us for our live community conversation about navigating freedom after long-term incarceration. Sean Ellis will be moderating the discussion, and you will hear from men who were all released within the last year after decades in prison. You will have an opportunity to take a quick break, but don't close your screens. We will be right back. I want to thank you for your generosity and for being part of our community. I also want to thank all the event sponsors for their continued support of our work. We look forward to seeing you all next year to celebrate what we will have accomplished together. Thank you.